Hey everyone, now with actual video. Hi, I'm Daniel. I make TelemetryDeck together with my awesome coworkers. And I want to show you today what I've been working on, give you an update on how the custom queries are working, how inside pre-calculation are working, just how the server is doing, those kind of things. So let me just put myself into the corner here, a little bit smaller. All right, so this is my main screen for the TelemetryDeck web dashboard, and what I want to show you today is inside calculation. So that is, you know that already. So for example, if I open an app here and then I show some of my insights for the app, then as you can see, it says waiting for data, and then it updates the data. And then basically what it is, what this does is it requests from the server, hey, can you please run this query on the time series database? And then once the server is done, it will send back the result, and then they can be displayed in a nice chart, right? But what's happening here also is that if I move away from here and I go back, then it will first show the previously calculated data and still run the new calculation. And then once the new calculated data comes in, then the new data will replace the old data. For this app, it doesn't really make a difference because this app is very small. But if you have a very large app that has millions of users, then these charts will take a few seconds or even tens of seconds to calculate. So showing the previous calculation result is actually a very nice way of just like giving you something nice to look at, and maybe even the answer to your question before, without you having to wait for the server to finish its calculation. But if you only look at TelemetryDeck every week or so, then you will be looking at a week-old data. So that's kind of a bummer. So what I've been working on the last few weeks is inside pre-calculation, where every time that you run one of these queries, so basically every time you look at these charts, in the background, we will add a little entry to the database that contains the actual query that was being run and the duration of how long that query took. Like, this is the biggest and longest and baddest query that's in the database right now. And it actually takes 49 seconds to complete, so that's not very nice. So then, with these entries in the database, I can go to my query pre-calculator. Here we go. This is a job that runs on our API server. And this thing, basically what it does, it says like, okay, everything that has been requested within the last 10 days. So every query that has been run within the last 10 days and that took at least 2 seconds, take those queries, put them in a list, and then every single one of them, throw them onto the calculation queue with the priority of background, so they will get calculated. But of course, every time like an actual human comes to the app or the web dashboard and wants something calculated, wants to see their data, that takes precedence, of course. And what this does, this runs every hour right now. But I mean, the actual parameters, like, I will probably play around with this some more. But right now, it's like 2 seconds. Queries that are less than 10 days old, and it runs every hour. But like, these might change in the future, of course. But the effect of this is this here, that if I go to a very long running query, for example, like the iOS versions query. Oh wait, hang on, I'm not in the server. I'm on the local. But no worries, let's go here to the live server. If I look at this query takes 49 seconds to complete, but as we see, it didn't take 49 seconds to show up. And that's because it has been pre-calculated on the server, and it has been pre-calculated 30 minutes ago, as we see here. And while I'm looking at this, you see this little spinner on the left side here. So that means, yes, the server is actually actively working on recalculating the newest version of the data because it sees that I'm looking at this. But while it's recalculating, calculating, I can already look at this 30 minutes old version of my data, which is not real time, but is close enough to give me usually all the most important information that I need. So this is really, really cool. And this is mostly on the server right now. It only works for certain insights, and I'm kind of very slowly and tentatively rolling this out. So if you have long-running insights, your insights will probably already work that way, but other parts that use, for example, this app front page here, that uses a different kind of query right now, so it will not show you the correct answer just yet, but this will change, of course. Okay, so this has one downside, which is that right now we have our query language. You've seen this before, but I'm going to show you. So this is our query language. It's a JSON-based language to query our time series database. It has these query types, which are group by, time series, and top n, and it has these dimensions that tell me basically like what to extract from the database and how. And yes, you can actually write those queries yourselves. We're gonna write some more documentation on this. So right now it's pretty hard. You need API access that you get with the larger tiers, and you can post these to the API. But in the future, you will be able to just go to any of your existing queries and just go to the editor here and just edit it. So that's coming. But until then, I'm already gonna tell you about how it looks when you look at these queries. And so these are the kinds of queries that are used to get any data out of the TelemetryDeck time series database. What is cool about these is that they're JSON based, so we can do like on the server replacement of various parts for automation, for improvement, and for security. One thing that has annoyed me about them until today is this here. These intervals is basically like what time range should I be looking at in this query. So right now, this is, for example, is looking from some October 21 until also October 21. So this is actually a 0-second time range, which doesn't really make a lot of sense, but this is just the tests for parsing these. So whatever, right? But basically, this string describes the time range that the query is working on. But until today, we only supported hard absolute dates and times in here, which is kind of annoying because two reasons. First of all, if you're writing those queries yourself, you don't have a program to update the time ranges every time you display them, as we do in our charts right now. And the second part is with the whole queuing and caching and pre-calculation, it works like this. Every time we cache a query result, we take a hash of the whole query basically and calculate a hash from that, and that is what is used to store the result of the query. But if the query changes, for example, because the absolute dates in there change, then you're kind of stuck. Like you don't have a cached result anymore. So these change at least once a day. So that's not really good, right? At first I tried like, can I maybe set these queries very generically, because the server will ignore anything that's in the future. So for example, if I set this to the beginning of the month and this to 3 months in the future or something, then the query will stay the same for more than a day, will stay the same for almost a month, but it still feels like a hack. So today, what I'm working on is an addition that is called relative time intervals. Relative time intervals. So with this update, you'll be able to specify your beginning and end dates, not in an absolute way, but in a relative way. And basically how it works, like I tell you the component, like the date component. This is month-based, for example. The offset tells you like how many times to add that component to the current date. So for example, this would subtract 1 month from today, and then it would seek to the beginning of that component. So for example, this is basically the beginning of last month. So that would be March 1st. As of today. Today's April 22nd. And this here is also component month. So the offset is 0, so it's the current month and the end of the current month. So right now that would be April 30th, I think. Yeah. But I can also put in day, week, quarter, and year in here. So for example, I could do something like that says the beginning of the previous quarter until the end of the current quarter. Or I could put in something like here, like 30 days ago, the beginning of the day of 30 days ago, and then the end of, I don't know, 7 days in the future. Those kind of things. And this is really cool because with this, the query doesn't actually change. Right before calculation, we replace this with absolutely calculated values, of course, but in all the caching and all the pre-calculation queuing and stuff like that, the query stays the same. So this is really cool, and this helps us. Just bring the query pre-calculation one step closer. This is not live right now, because I need to update the various user interfaces a bit more to be able to construct these properly. But I wanted to show you anyway, just to see, so that everyone can see what I've been working on, like how things are going, stuff like that. I hope you're enjoying TelemetryDeck. If you're not enjoying TelemetryDeck already, then what you really should not do is you really shouldn't take a screenshot of my screen right now and, enter that URL into your browser, because that would just gift you 125,000 signals per month for free forever. And you wouldn't want to do that, would you? That would be horrible. Anyway, try out TelemetryDeck if you haven't already. Write me on Twitter or in the comments below your questions and your comments about TelemetryDeck. And also tell me what you are using TelemetryDeck for, because I'm super interested in that. All right, have a great evening and see you around.